Hello everyone, we're back with coverage of round 9 of the Lebanese Chess Championship. Yeah, I kind of stopped, but I thought, hey, only 3 more rounds. We need to get this finished, because sometimes if I like the Alpha Zero vids, if I stop doing something, yes, I just take ages to come back to it. So I eventually do finish my work, but sometimes one time I remember I was working on something. It took me like 4 years to restart my work and complete the project. So anyway, so let's see. The first game we have Mr. Akram winning against Mahmoud Masarani. So what happened in this game? Nothing. Nothing happened. Mr. Masarani did not show up. Apparently he wanted to withdraw, but then actually he played the last 2 rounds because there was pushback on him withdrawing because that would affect the tiebreak used, of course. Sonneborn Berger. Yeah, I'm butchering the pronunciation. Someone help me out in the comments. I love when people correct me on my pronunciation because then I can improve. Anyway, so that game, no bueno. It did not exist. Okay, so we go for the second game. Assis winning against Mr. Muhammad. And what a game it was. Let's just take a look. So we have e4, c5, standard Siciliano, knight c6, an invitation to this fetch, the battleground of the 2018 World Championship. Bishop b5, the Rossolimo, obviously the battleground as well. G6, as well the battleground. And now here, bishop takes c6, I think is the most common move. Let me check. No, castles is now the most common move. Okay. So castles is the most common move. And bishop g7. It's just a normal position. One idea for white is to play the following to get a nice center and at some point ruin black's pawn structure. That's why you came here with the bishop. Of course, it's not as simple as that. There are many more nuances to this position, and actually we get to see a very interesting plan here. Now with queen b6, this is an extremely rare move, and I guess one that Mr. Assis has studied because it's a rather tricky move. The point is, of course, after taking, you take like this. We've seen this kind of idea where you put the queen here to stop white doubling your pawns. We've seen this in the Mudallal against Abdelaziz game. The fact that I still remember this after stopping this for so long is amazing, to be honest. But which round was it? It was round 7 here. You guys can see me flipping the game here. Yeah, so you can check that out. Yeah, so that's basically the point of this this move. Now actually there's this line with knight c3 where white initiates a cute series of tactics that end up working in their favor, of course. White should be maybe even much better after the following. So knight c3. The point is maybe to play knight d5 because of course queen takes b5 is not possible because of knight c7 check. That may be one of the ideas at least. And of course you're just adding support to the bishop. So you kind of delay the decision of whether to take or to move the bishop as well. Now here the line is bishop takes c3, and here of course you don't take back, which should lose a piece. You have to take here. And now after bishop g7, bishop a4, we have a slightly better position for white, maybe even much better, as I said, because you get these kind of breaks and this light squared bishop will have a tough time coming to life basically. And this bishop also blocking the e pawn, that might be relevant. So that was an option. Instead he plays bishop f1, which is, I guess, fine. Knight f6 was tried. Knight f6 could have been tried. Instead he went for d6, sticking to normal Sicilian stuff with this d6 move. Okay, and now obviously the normal move is c3, and you can follow up what Muhammad played in the game was knight a3. I get the point. You want to get knight c4, maybe reroute the knight here and potentially play c3. Also there are tactics, so this is not possible because of rook b1, so you're kind of trying to trick. Also knight c4 immediately after bishop takes g7, just knight c4, so you're kind of trying to trick black as well. Of course that's not going to be relevant in the classical game, but yeah. So yeah, actually yeah, this kind of reminds me of something. I'm saying it's not relevant in the classical game, but when you find a move that looks good and is also tricky, I think that means more often than not that it's actually a much better move than you think, because it's doing something that could lead to a win, of course, but that's not the point. The fact that it's doing something in addition to being a good move, that makes it an even better move than you think. Kind of get my drift. So yeah, that was the point here. And yeah, okay, I get why this might be the case with knight a3. I'm spending a bit too much time here in the opening, but yeah, I'll speed up. So yeah, I get the point of knight a3, but c3 is just more natural. You're going to have to play this anyway, and you can later on play knight a3 if you so desire, or you can play d3 and knight d2. Now, of course, c3, the whole point is to play d4, but that might be difficult to arrange with all of these pieces stopping d4. But c3 aims to do that. Anyway, he played knight a3, and now bishop g4 is played, just spinning. And yeah, this is why we saw in the other line, for example, here, the bishop will find it difficult to get to g4, and even white can potentially insert h3. But now in the game, bishop g4 is possible, so kind of difficult for white. Not difficult, but I mean kind of not optimal for white. Okay, so he plays knight c4, obviously, and maybe he wants to play knight e3 attacking the bishop. Now here, of course, bishop f5 is not played. Now here, queen d8 is played. Let me just mention the obvious. Queen b5 gets met with knight takes d6 check, and goodbye queen. Thank you, Mr. Bishop. And queen b4 is met by the same thing, but in a different context, in a different move order, basically. c3, and now no other move but queen b5, and still queen takes d6 check. Of course, that was not played. Queen d8, and now we get this c3 move. And here again, knight f6 is a possibility. This is quite common in these Alipinish type of pawn structures, just playing knight f6. It does block in your bishop, I get that, but the knight also does some nice things, for example, perhaps preparing d5. And overall just getting the knight to a reasonable square. I mean, you're delaying the knight, but you're not going to develop it to h6, are you? Yeah. Okay, so e6 instead was tried, and here I think was an opportunity to just solidify with d3 and go from there. Instead he went with knight e3, which is rather acceptable, but now he goes for a very weird thing. After bishop takes f3, he goes for g takes f3. Now, of course, queen takes f3 is much more natural. I get that he thought that with g takes f3 you have these kind of ideas, but no, I mean, when you take this kind of pawn structure, especially when you isolate your pawn here, it's just you have to really be 100% confident. Now I'm sure, knowing Muhammad, he took a lot of time on this decision, but it's also rather unnecessary. Like, if you think what's the best thing you're going to achieve, okay, you play f4, f5. If black allows it, and he won't, he'll probably insert e5 at some point. But let's say you get that. Where are you heading with this? Are you going to take here and open up the h file? So you're kind of inviting black to attack you if you're doing that. And if you take here, black will just recapture. Okay, some weak pawns, but how do you exploit them? You do have a nice light squared bishop. Maybe some of these ideas to exploit the weakened e6 pawn after f4, f5 takes. But yeah, that seems like a very long-winded approach, and black has a good way forward just maybe even pushing the h pawn and start attacking you. Yeah, that could, he could maybe even just push to h3 and like queen g5 check. I don't know. I mean, okay, black's plans are not so clear as of yet, but still g takes f3 is just not optimal, I think. So queen takes f3, just keep it safe. And here, of course, you can play f4, f5 whenever you want. You can just move back, queen d1, and then play f4, f5 if that's your plan. So yeah, g takes f3 is just overall very unnecessary. Okay, knight g e7. He's kind of trying to stop this f4, f5 plan, and now f4 is tried. Again here, just d3, and you maybe have to play f4 at some point, but you can even forgo that option and just play knight g2 maybe to control the f4 square, and even knight g2 to prepare kind of f4. But yeah, going f4 immediately, you're kind of burning too many bridges. This approach, g takes f3 and f4, burning too many bridges. Keep your options open, especially against someone as strong as Antoine. Anyway, so he castles, obvious move, and now knight c2. Again, I like just solidifying with d3 and maybe even just half developing the bishop to d2, but just to get the pieces out. Knight c2, I mean, black is taking a lot of, white is taking a lot of luxuries, and you know, these guys are not connected. So black plays principally and breaks in the center. Here I think was an option to just play queen b6 and put pressure here, so that the bishop will never come out anytime soon. But yeah, this is a rather strange move for a human to make. So okay, d5 is fine. And here he goes with d3, and Antoine follows up with d4. Again, very committal play by both sides now. First it was Muhammad, now it's Antoine. Just anything like queen c7, queen b6, rook c8. Just a maintaining type of move before you push through with d4. Because after d4, c4, now it's kind of unclear where black's advantage lies. I mean, I get he has a space advantage. This pawn is kind of cramping white. But white has a lot of ideas to break free. This bishop, okay, maybe if play before it'll be open, but then you get an open b file. And if not, this bishop is kind of staring at its own pawn, so it's not really doing much. So yeah, I think that would have been a good option. Instead, he played, yeah, so I mean, that's not such a good option, playing d4. Yeah, just maintain the position, play rook c8, you can play d4 at any point. So yeah, just too committal play by both sides. Okay, c4, queen d7. Okay, this is kind of a waiting move, I like this. Of course, connecting the rooks as well, and preparing f5. Bishop d2, and now f5. A bit premature to play f5. Here was an option to play a5. Stop the queenside counterplay. Maybe white has to react with b3 to still have the opportunity to play b4. Because if you play something like rook b1 here, maybe black just plays a4. That way, whenever you play this, takes, and maybe the rook can start infiltrating. This is a common idea on the Benoni. If you don't know what I'm talking about, should I show you? Yeah, okay, I'll show you guys, just in case. And I like to flip the board here because I play the Benoni from the black side, so it's easier for me. Yeah, let me just put the check Benoni. The check Benoni is the following. Now we're into the check. Yeah, so do I need to do anything special? No. Let me just develop the pieces randomly. Not randomly, but no, I don't castle here. Oops. Yeah, I first have to do this excursion. Yeah, I'm spending too much time playing a proper check when all that's needed is for me to show you the idea. Yeah, so here, let's do this. Here, if I play a6, you play a4, I can't play rook b8, because if you play a5, then after this you'll take like this, and this pawn will be a bit weak and you can start doing this stuff. and then my bishop will be permanently forced to be here, and knight a4 will come and stuff like that. So instead, after you play a4, I react with b6. Now in this specific position, we have actually a5 is still possible because b5 is not possible due to many pieces attacking that square. But still, it's a different flavor after inserting b6. And this specific position doesn't usually arise actually, because in the Czech Benoni, if you don't really play a6 here, you play this kind of stuff. Whoops. You play this kind of stuff and try to trade off the dark square bishop in this specific position. But anyway, we're kind of I'm going off on a big tangent, but I just wanted to show you what I'm talking about. So yeah, so here a5 was a good option for black, and after rook b1 you have a4, so white needs probably to play b3. That's the principal choice, so that after a4 we can play b4. But still, after b3 black should be doing fine. You don't need to play a4, you just kind of delay it and stop white from getting his counterplay. In this situation, you don't play a4, of course. You just wait for white, because white needs to do all of this to get the pawn push, so that takes a lot of time, and you've only invested one tempo in pushing a5, or two, a5, a4. Anyway, that was not played. Instead, f5 is played, and now was the opportunity to just try to break free. I want to break free, so b4, break free. That's why a5 should have been played, but instead Muhammad decides to close it down. e5. It's a very good move, e5, if it were not for the following move by Antoine. g5, obliterating the position. Yeah, if you take, as happens in the game, there are a lot of complications which we will check out. And if you don't take, of course, when I take back, there's always this knight g6. So g5 just really opens up for knight g6, and it kind of exploits these weak pawns over here. So if g5 were not possible, this would be an amazing position, because our c4 pawn is blocking knight d5. So here, okay, you push e5, you might think d5 is weak, but we have the pawn protecting that. So this would be quite good, and we have now a space advantage. Our pawn is kind of encroaching on the white position, on the black position. But yeah, with g5, the tables have turned. Okay, Muhammad decides to take. Can't really be faulted, this decision. Again, if you don't take and black takes here, if you just don't do anything, let's say you play bishop g2, black will take, you take back, and for the moment you're defending here, but then comes this, you go back, there's even f4, and it's just a bad idea. So he takes, and now was the opportunity to play knight takes e5, just attacking some very key squares. I'm not really sure why this wasn't played, and later on it looks a bit dangerous, and maybe he preferred what was played in the game, f4, but yeah. Now of course f4 allows the knight to come to f5, so it's a reasonable option as well. But here white could have tried to play rook e4, and after knight g6 we have somewhat of a game. Maybe you can play queen e2, just try to solidify here. No, actually, what am I talking about? Queen e2, you just take. I don't know, to be honest, looks bad for white either way, but what was tried in the game with queen g4, after knight g6, you're just really outright losing the pawn, and I don't get why knight g6 was not played either. So he takes actually, but this kind of goes into the following tactic, and yeah, after rook e1, okay, now obviously there's a better option than rook e1, but if you just look at the position without thinking tactically a bit, insinuating perhaps h5, and now rook e8. The point of, if you guys remember, we played f4 Antoine played f4 when knight g6 was possible. And yeah, f4 was, the point was, or was it knight takes e5 was possible? Anyway, the point was to get the knight to f5, and here he should have used the opportunity to get the knight to f5, add pressure here, and threaten this very weird tactic, which we will see later. Remember that. Instead he played rook a8, just a normal quiet move, getting the rook into the game, kind of. It's not really in the game right now, but yeah. And now bishop g2, activating the bishop. What could be more natural? Instead rook e4, which is a rather artificial move, seems better because it offers more chances for activity. But anyway, bishop g2. And now finally knight f5, but here it's mistimed because f3 is winning is a strong word, but it's a clearance sacrifice. Okay, you have to take, basically it's a clearance sacrifice that really gets things moving here for black. And here, yeah, you gave up a pawn, and you even maybe you might be afraid of this bishop, but the activity you get with your rooks on the open f file, it's going to be more than enough actually. Anyway, knight f5, and here again b4 maybe almost always should have been tried, but instead he played h5. And now remember the tactic that I talked about? Yeah, Antoine just plays rook e7. Maybe he wants to play this, but yeah, he misses a really cute tactic. Knight friggin e3. What's the point? Well, if you move out of the way, your queen is attacked, by the way, so knight takes c2. Thank you very much. I win a clean knight. So I have to take. Yeah, I have to take. You take back. Takes. And I take here. I am down. I did sacrifice a piece. Well, in this variation I did not. I'm still up at the exchange, but okay, you'll see the variation where I sack a piece. But now after this, basically the point is that the position is opening up. Now after this, f3 takes, and queen c2. Let me go through them more slowly. So again, this f3 sacrifice, clearance sacrifice, queen c2, you're threatening queen f2 and these kind of ideas, and obviously threatening checkmate. Queen g2 defending against kind of both threats, but now simply queen takes c4, and black is starting to clean up. So if we return here, the point of the sacrifice is simply to open up the position. Here you notice we simply traded. I should mention, after knight e3, taking here is like not really even an option. I just take and hello on this file. You probably have to sacrifice, and the sacrifice isn't really going to help you. The point is you open up the position for black, and that's what black needs. He wants open files and the game is over. Instead he played rook e7, and again white misses the opportunity to play b4. h6, okay, stopping this rook g7. I like h6, and now rook f7. Again, knight e3. This is such a brilliant move, and the fact that you're not really sacrificing anything is really the point here. You just can't, like, you can't be greedy. You can't take the knight and say I have more material. You're just going to lose here. It's no question asked. And when you see that this line loses for white, no questions asked. There's rook f2. There's I don't even know what's the best move. But you're just losing. Yeah, so when you see this as black, you should just go for knight e3, because if you're not really sacrificing anything, that means you're just simplifying the position and getting a better position. Anyway, I guess he completely missed the idea, which is not easy for humans. He played rook f7, and here was a very interesting opportunity actually. White had the opportunity to simply, well, not simply, but he had the opportunity to sacrifice the exchange. Another exchange, 2 exchanges. Take here, no way for the queen, only square for the queen. Where is it? It's on friggin' h8. And now you play knight e1, get the knight here, and yeah, white may even be slightly better here. You're down 2 exchanges, but these rooks are not happy. The bishop pair actually is stronger here. And especially with the queen being on h8, how do you extricate the queen out of h8? You want to play this and like extricate it this way? It's not happening. So yeah, that would have been a nice option. Instead, he plays b4. He finally plays b4, but it's mistimed because, again, knight e3. Not played though. b6 instead. Standard reaction to b4, but again. And here, yet again, rook takes e5. He missed this. And king h8, we continue a bit, and again we have the same thing. I have a few lines, like what happens after king f8, and even after e5, there's this cute idea. And here you can simply take, you don't care about this, because this is checkmate. I kind of went quickly through that line, but it's not really relevant. So knight a3 instead was tried, which is not good. And now again, knight e3, but no. Antoine, I guess the idea is just not on his radar, so he played a6. And now knight c2, I would have figured the point of knight a3, which is funny, the knight returned to a3. By the way, it went there in the opening, if you guys remember. So I would have figured the point is knight c2, but instead he plays b5, which is not something I can really get behind, because knight e3 yet again. Had you gone for knight c2, at least you lessened the impact of knight e3. But here a5, instead of a5 there was knight e3. But he played a5, blocking the position. And who is this helping? When you're closing down the position, who is this helping? Of course, it's helping white, because he's down the exchange. He played knight b1, bishop f3 is much more natural. I don't know why Muhammad was really never afraid of this clearance sacrifice. I'd be so afraid of this clearance sacrifice, and why Antoine wasn't playing it at some point as well. I'd be so afraid of this because you just open up for these two pieces. Right now these pieces are not doing anything, right? But with f3, hello, the pieces are doing something. And the rook as well becomes suddenly active, so it's a very dangerous thing. I would have prevented it. Instead he played knight b1, king f8, again, missing the opportunity. King f8, and now bishop c1. And again, he had knight e3. Instead of bishop c1, bishop e4 makes a bit more sense. Just, yeah, I don't know why the e4 square wasn't even accessed by white as well. Just get the piece there. Muhammad, you have to understand what Muhammad had in mind though. He wanted to play bishop c1 to get the knight here. But it's a bit long-winded, this plan. Now, you don't really have the luxury of time with your position being so precarious. So, yeah. Yeah, I get it from practical sense. Yeah, don't forget knight e3. Okay, queen c7. And now knight d2, getting the knight where it belongs. And now, I guess knight e3 is no longer possible now. Yeah, so he played bishop h8. Just returning with king g8 actually, because the excursion with king f8 really, I don't know, maybe he's trying to Petrosian walk the king, but yeah. Okay, bishop h8, and again bishop e4 is an option. I get you wanted to play the knight here, but with the bishop you have more scope, and the knight has a better square even, to be honest. He played knight f1 though, and this is getting into quite strange territory. I mean, why not knight? Having said A, you went to d2. I don't guess the point was knight e1. You could have gone to e4. Yeah, so again, knight e3. You're kind of getting tired of this. e5 and bishop d5. Yeah, e5 is of course a big mistake. Not a big mistake, but you're just giving white the light squares. But I mean, already actually white is doing well. If it were not for knight e3, since they're playing the position as if knight e3 is not extant. Now, of course, I don't blame them. I doubt I would have found knight e3 myself. But since that is the case, then without knight e3, to be honest, I'm favoring white here. You have a nice space edge. Game is completely locked, and this bishop is doing a great job here. Okay, so he played e5, bishop d5, and now queen d7 actually offered some interesting counterplay, maybe with knight e3 ideas, right? Instead he went for queen d6, and queen d6 kind of allows this queen h5, where if you move the queen, I maybe try to play h5, g6, and just open up the position in my favor, kind of, because I have the pawn blocking g7. So yeah, of course not this. And if not, if you play something like queen g6, I will happily take and yeah, just run with these pawns. And not run, but run in the sense that I'd continue the game with them. Instead he played knight d2. Again, going back to this, queen g6. I leave it up to you if knight e3 were possible here. Okay, queen g6, and now bishop takes f7. Whoops, and whoops. Run through the game very quickly. So Wesley. Yeah, bishop takes f7. Finally capitalizing on the exchange, but actually, funny enough, not taking the exchange is even better. You don't really need to take the exchange. Okay. He takes the exchange and now plays the rather weird f3. No reason to, and of course after f3 finally we get to see knight e3. Yeah, no reason to do this, just play king f1 and go from there. Maybe you play knight e4, maybe you play knight f3. f3 is really strange. Why would you give up the e3 square? I do not understand this at all. And here he played queen h3, basically losing the game. Queen h4 offered a more tenacious defense. Perhaps he was afraid of knight c2. But after rook f1 we kind of have a draw. And if black wants to play for more, with knight f5 we just go with queen g4. And again it's basically a draw after queen h4. I don't get what he was afraid of after queen h4. Instead he played queen h3 and blundered the pawn. I think he was in deep time pressure here, because otherwise this f3 kind of move and the queen h3 they won't be happening by Muhammad. So yeah, maybe Muhammad spent too much time to get to this. Now, having said this, so the problem here, I feel that after let's go back. So after f3, well, when you're in time pressure you don't want to make these committal moves, so yeah, that's a big error. Anyway, we'll continue a bit with the game. Yeah, I'm not going to analyze much because yeah, white is not completely lost. Actually, yeah, here he could have played king e2. I get the h pawn is coming and that might be scary, but then you have kind of these ideas to try to stop it and maybe even sacrifice then. But now he sacrifices out of desperation. Not really the way to go. You just play not even king e2, maybe king g1 if you're really afraid of the pawn marching. Just play something normal. I mean, knight takes c5. Yeah, you do get some pawns, but it's obviously not going to be enough. And yeah, here the game just ends. Actually, I didn't take a look at this. Wait, knight takes d3? Is this a notation error or am I missing a tactic? Or is the point the endgame is losing? Is this endgame is losing? Yeah, but interesting. I wonder what the engine says about this. Yeah, I didn't notice even knight takes d3. Bishop e7. Yeah, bishop e7 takes. Yeah, and of course with the passed h pawn, the end game, and there's this passed pawn. So yeah, but if Antoine was in time pressure, maybe he would have blundered something here. Yeah, here after knight d3, knight takes d3, I would have definitely taken, because if you're not taking, you're definitely losing. Come on. Yeah, and soon he resigned. Yeah, I would have definitely taken. Because even it took me like a few seconds to realize the endgame is losing for for white. And maybe in time pressure, maybe he would have blundered. Who knows? Antoine won't blunder this, but anyway, so a really crazy game actually. So yeah, quite a nice fight. And what I really loved, if we go a bit forward here, I know this video is going to be really long, but bear with me. What I really loved, where was it? Well, it was a bit earlier. Yeah, I'm trying to get you to, yeah, the double exchange sacrifice. The double exchange sacrifice. I loved it. Queen on h8. Queen on h8. That would have been so friggin' sweet here. Okay. Yeah, so that game is in the books. Let's go to the Sayer Silman game. Sayer Silman, one thing I will say about this game, it's one heck of a drawn game. They really did prove chess is a draw, right? The game was really stable for a long while, and ups and downs for both sides, and then one side prevailed, as you can see by the score. But yeah, it was really drawish. Okay, and d4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, c5. Okay, just we have a Tarash. It's funny because Sayer plays this as black. He's not choosing the system with Fincat wing, which is usually the recommended method of fighting against the Tarash. This is just all fine. By the way, here bishop b2 makes more sense than pushing the bishop. Just develop first, but okay. Minor quibbles here and there, both sides just developing. Here, knight d4 of course makes more sense, attacking these two and cementing a knight. Yeah, here it's all about the IQP, so how do we play against the IQP? We put squares in front, we put pawns, yeah. You can do that only in Crazy House and in some other chess variants. No, we put pieces in front of the in front of the square that's in front of the past. Yeah, this isn't coming out right. We put pieces in front of the isolated pawn, and we try to get well, black should be trying to get an attack, but obviously that's not going to be very successful with these pieces. So actually, even white should be maybe even much better, is a bit strong, but he should be more than slightly better, because he's blocking the pawn well. He can get pieces to the square in front of the pawn, and he has chances to himself start attacking black. Of course, that's not going to be happening, but it's an idea. So knight d4 should have been tried. Instead, bishop b5. Okay, knight b4. And now queen d4. Now you can go for this. You might be afraid of this, but I can even choose to take. Because remember, this pawn, it's a bishop. It's not a tall pawn, it's a bishop. It's protected by the knight. So I'm not afraid that much of bishop f6. Yeah, so that was an option. Instead he takes, and now plays queen d4, and now we get to see knight f6. Why was the pawn not taken? Don't really know. Of course he might have been afraid of these ideas or whatever, but I mean, queen d3, there's just rook c1 and the bishop is protected. This knight on a4, I criticized it a bit, just attacking the bishop before you develop, but actually it's doing a good job. I don't get why this wasn't played. Anyway, what follows is just a lot of nothing, actually. I mean, it's easy to simplify this after you have analyzed the game, but it's basically what happened. Just, okay, some seeming tactics, but all of this just leads to trades. Like here, oh wow, he won a3, but yeah, you won d5 back. It's just trades. And notice also that black was able to get rid of this isolated pawn. So black was slightly worse, maybe even much worse. Had really accurate moves been played, but then now it's just an equal position. And we go forward a bit. Yeah, here for example there was the option to go bishop d6, which would preserve more pieces. Instead he went queen c7, and after bishop c4 he now plays bishop d6, and there was the option of playing bishop b2 here. I should mention, by the way, here there was the option of b5, seemingly winning a piece. If you move, I take here, but I just take, of course. Takes, I take back, takes, and this. Here actually white should be slightly better, because I kind of have this double attack going. Yeah, but of course with opposite colored bishops. Now of course there are attacking chances, so it's not just opposite colored bishop. Opposite colored bishops middle game, remember that in opposite colored bishop middle games the attacking side is favored, while in end games of course it's usually a draw. So yeah, here this was an option, so that's why b5 was not played. Okay, so bishop d6, and yeah, again bishop b2 was an option. e4 is played instead, and after b5 we get a series of exchanges. Bishop e6 was again a possibility. All of these possibilities I mentioned in this game are slight improvements which might lead to they're still about equal, as is the game, but the moves I'm suggesting kind of lead to more complications, while the game is just a really simplification kind of game. So b5 takes, obviously, you take, obviously, and I take back. There was the option of giving yourself this b4 pawn, maybe trying to take here and run with the b pawn, but you do give black the passed c pawn as well, so that's not an easy decision to make. Instead he took, takes, and yeah, kind of simplification here. Notice you can't take, by the way. So yeah, just equal number of pawns. Of course black has the passed pawn, but white is well able to control the pawn. Actually there isn't, a bit later. Knight d5, g3, from what I remember actually. Yeah, maybe I'm forgetting. I analyzed this like a week ago and still haven't. Has it been a week since round 8? Yeah, it's maybe even been more than that. Anyway, knight b4, and now bishop e3. Knight e5 was again a chance to go for a little something. Yeah. Okay, bishop e3, and now knight d3. What I don't get is why knight c2, forking these two bad boys and one bad gal, was not played. Here you just fork. You just fork. Queen d1, for example, I just take, and yeah, the pawn structure does not give a lot of confidence, does not inspire a lot of confidence. And if queen c1, for example, I can just play bishop b4. Taking, the problem is I take back with the queen, so if you want to avoid that, you play bishop b4. Rook e5, for example, f6, rook e6, and yeah, this kind of line, black should be a bit better. Yeah, I get, like, for example, rook e5. There are other options, I get it. There's rook a4, but we're not going to make this video 10 hours long. So knight d3 instead, and now queen a1, attacking a6, and he plays a nice move. Actually, to be honest, white is starting to be a bit better. Not better, but white is starting to put pressure. But actually, with bishop b4, the position is swinging back to black's favor. Rook a2 was tried, which is not so accurate. Instead, just queen a2. That way, you ask the queen if it wants to trade or not. If it doesn't want to trade, I win a6. Thank you very much. So rook a2 instead, and now bishop c3, and therein lies the problem. Again, rook a4, you ask the queen, do you want to trade or not? If takes here, I just take. And yeah, with rooks, the position becomes easier to draw. With queens, there are more winning chances, because some of that queen b1 check, and black just has more firepower to escort the pawn. So yeah, that was, rook a4 was a better option. Instead, rook c2, and now bishop takes a1. Tactic alert. I guess Silman here was in time pressure, but he could have won easily with bishop takes d4. You go to d1, I just go back. I'm winning. I'm up a piece. And you take c4, I take a1, and again I'm up a piece. So that was a bit weird. He missed that, but okay. So he took, takes, and now knight b4. This endgame should probably be a draw. Now we get a forced series of exchanges, which leads to a rook endgame. Now the rook endgame, of course, you have the rook behind the passed pawn, so black should be winning. But remember, there is an extra pawn here, and it's actually really blocking in the black king. So this should be a draw. a5, rook a4, it's almost definitely a draw. And now g5, very smart idea. Okay, all of this is forced, but yeah, the point is to try to get out this way. So you need to start acting against that. King f8, for example, there's g4 and maybe later g5. So g5, king f3, h6. Now white is doing well to stop this plan of black's. He's trying to go in first, which is very clever. He plays h4 though. Yeah, having said A, you have to say B. Here white is not going to lose, and okay, he won't win either, but yeah, just a way to secure the draw. h4, you're kind of asking for trouble. Actually here you could have taken and went for this. Now of course this position is again more likely a draw, but yeah, anyway. Instead he went king h7, and now h5 blocking king g6, but the problem is rook a6 and you're losing the pawn eventually on f6. So yeah, the way forward with king g4 here, this is just far too simple. You can just move the pawns and move the king back and forth, and it'll be a draw. Yeah, actually, having said this, he might have been afraid here of something like a Zugzwang, right? He might have been afraid that because the king, if it moves here, then this kind of stuff makes more sense. Yeah, but of course you can just give up the f pawn for the a pawn, so that concern was not really warranted by Elias. But anyway, king h7, h5, and here, and now final opportunity to change the course of the game. Rook takes f4 allows this pawn to run, and it's GG. Instead, the only way forward was g4. What's the point of g4? The obvious takes is met by takes, and this endgame should be drawn. f3 check looks dangerous with rook f4 coming, but I can just play this. The king and pawn endgame would be drawn, so he has to take, and after takes, king and pawn endgame after rook g5 is drawn, and otherwise white is completely fine. Even if you do lose this pawn, it's still probably a draw with these two pawns, h and f. Yeah, they are two extra pawns, but in rook endgames it's usually a draw. You can look up the theory about that a bit. It's difficult, but yeah. Anyway, and here instead, if f3 checks, so after we saw here g takes f4, g4, f3 check, I just take, you take here, I go here, you stay, I go up f4, and again I have this. And I can just mark time with the king, and if you try, you can't even approach here with the pawn being here, but yeah. So yeah, this should be a draw as well. I just mark time with the king as such. And if you try to get too frisky over here by running the king, yeah, well, I'll get frisky back. And maybe even white has winning chances in such a crazy scenario, because then he'd have like two connected passed pawns, right? Anyway, that did not happen, and now this is just an easy one. No way for white to have done anything. Black shows impeccable technique. He just takes the kingside pawns, and little can be done here. We do get this, perhaps this situation you might be thinking, but the white king is cut off. In the other position it was not. The rook is doing a good job cutting off the white king, and without the white king, white is losing. So yeah, he tries a bit. Rook g3 is a cute try. I'm not sure, maybe this was a notation error, but anyway. Yeah, the game is over soon. So yeah, just a really equal game. White had the possibility of going for a bit more in the opening. Black defended quite well. Black played really quite well actually. And yeah, just a rather strong game by both sides, to be honest. Okay. And now for Mr. Samer Salman against Wissam Eid. Was the Najjar game was here? Ooh. Oh, this video is going to be very long. Yeah, we have some really crazy games. Huh. Okay. I'll try to run through this quickly then. So we have a Sicilian, Najdorf, bishop here, normal Najdorf with queen f3. Here, most common theory is h6 and this kind of stuff. Instead, Wissam goes for e5. Again, I've been saying this. Wissam keeps playing e5 when it's too early, when it weakens too many squares. Here, Samer brilliantly exploits e5, knight f5, obviously. Takes, and black is already down the bishop pair, and this square is going to be under white's control. So black is significantly worse. Knight c6, castles. Here, you have to play knight d4 for what it's worth. At least maybe try to pick up the pawn, block the d file, stuff like that. Instead he plays castles, and now g4 was the obvious try. Just this, takes, push, go haywire. Instead he took, and after takes he plays queen g3. Very sensible option, by the way. Queen g3. Of course you don't, for example, take, because that would be met by rook b8, and taking here, this is far too greedy. Maybe white is fine, I don't know. But yeah, if you're playing like this as white, you're just asking for trouble. And you know, because okay, you have these nice pawns, but if your king is here and you have my three heavy pieces have these nice open files, yeah, you're not going to be very happy as Mr. White. So that was not good. Queen takes b7 wouldn't be that good. Queen g3 instead, and here rook e8 followed by rook c8. The point of rook e8, potentially bishop f8 at some point if the need arises, and just trying to see through on the e file and also adding some protection here. And you follow up with rook c8 and start your counterplay on the queen side. Yeah, I remove this arrow because really the queen is defending, so yeah. So let's just put this. Anyway, he played knight h5, which runs into a series of tactics that basically win the game for white. He initiates with bishop takes e7. Queen takes e7. Yeah, the reason, knight takes g3, I take d8. Are you keeping count? You take here, bishop b6, and the knight is not getting out. Knight f2 is blocked, knight g3 is blocked by this guy, and yeah, I'm going to play, I showed you here, bishop e2 and rook takes h1. No way to stop that. White will be up. White will be up here. Why can't I get it out? He'll be up the two minor pieces against the rook, which is obviously winning for white, especially with the pawn structure and the fact that it's the bishop pair and like the weak square here. All of these are in white's favor. Queen takes e7, and now knight d5. So queen d8. You go back here. All of this a la tempo, right? So here takes. Black won't be taking on g3 because of what we saw, so he takes here. Here he won't be taking on g3 because knight takes e7 is check, and I take back, I bump a piece. So he goes back, and now finally the queen moves out of the way, but not without preparing some h3 g4, right? Okay, queen g5 check happens. Queen d2, I would have just played king b1. I get he was seeing the endgame as winning and just didn't want to take many chances, but okay. So he plays queen d2. This would be a cute little fork Aroni. Yeah, so he played queen takes d2 check. Black here, for what it's worth, should have kept the queens on the board, but yeah, okay, he goes for the losing endgame instead. This endgame is completely lost. I'm just going to have so much fun on the king side. I have a brilliant square here. This pawn is backward and weak. My light square bishop will have fun. Yeah. So let's see the technique by Samer. He even gets this doubled pawn. And okay, the knight is good here. It's on a good square, and you know, these pawns are on dark squares. But it's not enough because black is losing a pawn. Here he should have tried Rook A7, final try, but yeah, it doesn't really make much of a difference. White makes use of a tactic, wins 7 billion pawns, and here black resigns. So yeah, again, Wissam making blunders in the Sicilian. He gets against Joe, against Akram, against Samer. He's getting quickly outplayed in the Sicilian. He needs to stop the Sicilian or learn a bit more theory in the Sicilian. Anyway, so Tariq against Joe. This was a bit similar to the Muhammad Elias game, but not quite. It wasn't that way. It was kind of this. No, I mean the Muhammad Salman Elias game was like this. This game was kind of like this. Yeah, so almost a perfect game, I think, by Joe. You see there's almost little improvements for black because white just did many things wrong. Okay, so we get to see the Aliechen. First time, I think, in this tournament, Joe trots out the Aliechen. He's been trying other things. Okay, so the Aliechen, and now this variation. This is called the 2-pawn push variation. What's it called? 2-pawn attack Lasker variation. Yeah, I got close. Yeah, and here you play this, and I really don't believe in this for white. White really has to, like here you have to play d4, and white is kind of suffering. Not suffering, of course not. But white is, like, I find it easier to play black, quite simply. It's much easier to destroy white's center when he has given you these pawns and you have this clear plan. Okay, so he takes, which is starting to get strange, and now here, and he plays knight f3. Actually, already you had to play a3. Not the move you want to play, but you had to prevent this check, because this will be relevant. So he plays knight f3, takes, knight takes, and now queen b6, threatening some important squares. So he plays bishop d3, seeing the following tactic, obviously. But black sees further. He checks, bishop d2, and now he can take the pawn. If you go king f1, of course, that's not what you want to do, quite simply. So he played bishop d2 and takes, and now he plays queen a4 check. Just castling here would have been much better, because you're up, you have a lead in development, and of course this is not possible. So that's what he should have done. Okay, queen a4 check instead was tried, knight c6, and the following sequence is just perfection by Joe. He takes, and after check, king e7, he plays king d2. Again, he should have castled. He plays king d2, king e2. Black is up a pawn here, and it's not looking like white has any real compensation. f6, getting the knight out of the way, and here knight f3. Knight d3, trying to trade more pieces, might have been possible, because here if you do get the possibility to trade off knights, then you're doing much better. Not much better, but you're doing better than you would have been otherwise. Okay. Because you can organize the rooks, and there's this pawn which is an extra pawn, but it's a weak pawn. Anyway, knight f3, and now the problem is you have knight c6. Very wise move by Joe again. Rook h e1 check. Here there was the possibility to add pressure to the knight, but black would probably just play bishop d7 and ask you what are you doing. He plays check, king d6, and now h3. I get he wants to prevent bishop g4, but yeah, maybe no need to, just play king c3 and knight c3. Oh, could have been. Okay, he plays h3 and now bishop d7. Again, all black moves are almost perfect, so. And here he takes. Rook e3 could have been trying to double, and if you don't double, maybe I can even consider taking with the f pawn to stop your passed pawn. A try. Takes, and now a3. Again, king c3 might have been a possibility. a3, a6, and now bishop a4. Just bishop d3, trying to go for this guy. Because, for example, if you don't, you allow me to go for this guy, I just take. You try to trap me. Here, of course, I just push h4. You try to do this, I take. You will eventually get the g-pawn, but white is just getting some pieces out of the way. Don't really mean to play g4 there. And if g6, well, we've kind of made black make a bit of a concession because we have later on h4, h5 and weaken this target. So yeah, that was better than putting the bishop on a4, where black initiates the following tactic. Here, you have to takes, and now we're down a pawn and we have isolated pawns here and an isolated pawn here. Isolated doubled pawns and an isolated pawn. Not good. Rook g1, g6, and now b4. Rook g4 seeking counterplay along the rank would have been better. But b4, rook c8, h4, rook c4, and h5. Rook h1 might have been a better idea, but again, not really going to make with the idea of playing h5 now. Not gonna make much of a difference. And after h5 taking and playing this. But again, not gonna make much of a difference. He plays h5 immediately, but now comes g5, and now he plays the crazy rook g4, just trying to go into a losing king and pawn end game. Instead, rook b1 would try to hold on. The point is, if I come here, at least you have maybe b5. Just try something. Rook g4, nope, not gonna be good. He plays king c6, trying to not even go for the king and pawn endgame, but just take the pawn outright in the endgame here. And after king d3, he finally takes, and now the endgame is completely winning for le black. And he shows very nice technique. Yeah, Joe is going to calculate this to an easy win. That's what he does. And Joe wins. Was there any improvement for black? I don't even think so. So, yeah, some improvements for white, but the line white shows is just ugh. And really, this was... Joe is in his element when he's playing his tried and tested openings. Okay, so for our star-studded match, Najjar wins as black against Abdelaziz. And what a crazy game it was. Let me just check how much analysis I have. Yeah, I don't really have a lot of analysis, but some analysis. We're already an hour and 5 minutes. Okay. So, we got c4, e5. Common way to meet the English opponent. And now bishop b4. And theory is usually knight d5. But, okay. He plays knight f3, which is fine as well. Takes. Theory is usually d takes, but b takes, okay. Castles, and now d6. e4 here would have offered black much better chances because he simply pushes this knight around. Okay, instead d6, rook b1, rook b8. Rook b1, yeah, you don't commit with the, or at least the way he's playing it. Abdelaziz is not committing anything yet with the pawns to any of these squares, not even playing d4, of course. Just going to try to put pressure on this this pawn so that the bishop can't develop as well. So rook b1, rook b8, and now d3. Now he commits. h6, knight d2, rerouting the knight. Bishop d7. Finally the bishop is out because the rook was played here to defend the square. And he doesn't choose bishop g4 because maybe he doesn't want to run to h3. And now bishop a3. Strange move. e4 is more normal. You just cement the square. Maybe push for c5, this kind of stuff later on. And rook e1 is a standard waiting move. Instead bishop a3, I get he wants to play c5, but it's rather strange because of what happens in the game. b6, blocking permanently the idea of playing c5, though it does become an option sometimes. Knight e4, takes, and now f5. Brilliant play by Najjar. He's not afraid of weakening his king side. Yeah, this might scare mortals, but yeah, Najjar is not fearful of this. He knows that f5, f4 will lead to an almost crushing attack by black. If you notice also, this bishop is just far away on La La Land, so it has to come back. Yeah, so bishop g2, and now knight e7. Again, I really like this by Najjar. Now actually queen e7 was perhaps an option here. The point is just to get the queen out and start pushing through this route, and maybe even get this route for the knight. Okay, knight e7 is much more natural. d4. Okay, trying to break through in the center. Of course that's denied, and gaining space as well for black, and blocking in the light squared bishop. c5, I like this. Now you're kind of at least making use of your bishop. Bishop e6, takes, very natural play. Queen d2, c8. And now, for better or worse, white should have tried to break free with f3. At least d5 would run into problems here. And otherwise you at least maybe try to get a pawn for your troubles and open up for the bishop. He played rook fc1, which is a bit of a mysterious move. Maybe he wants to break free with c4, but that's not going to be allowed. Queen d7 he played. c4 is not really an idea. Bishop f1. Bishop f1. Yeah, I guess he's trying to go for this, but again, not really good. And black stops that, just goes for the attack immediately, having seen that the bishop is no longer protecting here, no longer protecting the square. Black immediately pounces. So it's like that with Najjar. He immediately sees an opportunity and goes for the kill. Here e3 should have been tried, which is a crazy move because you'd think f3 is really bad for white. But actually after this you have bishop b5, you have queen b2, as you can see by the arrows. You have queen b4 attacking this d6 pawn. So yeah, white should be fine. And these ideas never scare us because you can always go to h1. You take, I take back. You bring your queen into h3. Yeah, I just play rook g1 and I should be safe. Of course you have to contend with these ideas then, but yeah, overall white should be okay with this. Though, of course, that's not an easy decision at all. And after e3, if you take, of course, I just take back, and I'm reasonably happy here. Not gonna get mated anytime soon, and I'm perhaps going to play c4 sometime soon. Okay. Instead he took, and yeah, this will be a long-lasting positional ugliness over here. Well, this, yeah, and he plays knight g6, similar to the Antoine against Habash game, if you guys remember. It was way long, an hour ago. And now c4 is pushed as a kind of sacrifice, but of course black is not interested in that side of the board, more interested in this side. Rook takes f4 and rook b3. Okay, trying to defend laterally, I like this, but queen e3, keeping solid against e3, would have been maybe a better idea, and preparing c5. Instead he goes rook b3, and rook takes c4 here, now picking up the pawn. Rook cf8, just going for the attack was another option as well, but he picks up the pawn. And here he plays rook g3, just trying to defend on the king side, but d5 was actually an option. Just clearance sacrifice. Again, that's the name of the game this round. Takes, takes, and rook check, and there is rook g3. So you don't need to prophylactically play rook g3. You can, after rook g4 check, play rook g3. Okay, rook g3, takes c1, takes, and queen f7. Okay, bishop d5 was an option. The way it goes is you sack and try to get some activity. Okay, but again, not really necessary. He just plays queen f7, more sensible. Bishop g2, and now there's a funny idea with rook f6. The point is knight f4 and g5. Just attack that way. Again, not really. Not well. It's kind of is necessary, but yeah, okay. I don't fault Najjar for not seeing that. Not an easy plan to go for. He goes rook h4 instead, insinuating some stuff on the h2 square. H2 square being here, and now queen b4. So queen b4, trying to attack this pawn. But you know, these kind of ideas, this is what happened in the game. But these kind of ideas are like, just like you're moving your queen that side of the board. I just don't really like it on general principles. Just the attack is there and you need defense. You can't just move it out. Here he should have tried d5, and after bishop f5 played bishop b2. Again, just clear the way for your bishop. His bishop here really not making a good impression. So queen b4, d5, and now queen d6. That was the idea, to kind of billiard shot the queen over where it defends on the king side. But yeah, okay, I don't really like this for white, the idea for white. Just why not? Now, by the way, black has firmly cemented d5, and this is here, so the bishop will never be active. So this kind of billiard, they call it Karpov's billiard shot of the queen, it's really not going to be much of much help. So king h7, very nice move, just getting out of the way of shenanigans on checks over here and all that. And here rook c3 was possible, maybe going for this. Having gotten the queen here, why not go for that? Instead he plays f3, and this is really just weakening. After e takes f3, black should be completely winning. Maybe he was a bit afraid of this, but that's not really going to work out well for white. You can check it out on your own. Instead, bishop f5, and now bishop e3, e takes, and now we get to see rook takes f3. Bishop takes f3 was maybe a better idea to try to attack this square. But okay, he goes rook takes f3, and after rook g4, he should have apparently gone for queen e8 here, with the idea, as you can see, bishop e4, knight h4, rook g4, kind of attacking, kind of, yeah, well, you're brutally attacking that line. Instead he went for rook g4, and after rook g3 defending, we could have had the following: takes and h takes, and yeah, this should be a slight pull for black, and queen takes, there's bishop e4, and again, yeah, but instead he went for queen a8. I like this more, just keeping the tension, trying to go for a win. King f2, yeah, just defending, and now okay, this endgame should be a dead draw. Here bishop f5 should maybe have been tried to offer more chances for a draw, but instead he plays here, and he kind of allows bishop e6 here. Not like that, that's the end of the world. Actually, there was a really funny move here, a3, just keeping an eye out for like queen a4 ideas, but yeah, okay, no one's going to play that. He played bishop e6, and yeah, this is basically a whole load of nothing. Actually, kind of white starts having an advantage at some point. Here with queen c7, you could have just really went for the draw, Instead he goes bishop c7, which is a bit of a strange move, just kind of blocking your queen out of the game, or blocking the queen's path back to the game. And now knight e6, and here he could have just went for a draw. This is just a draw. Obstacle bishops, and kings are not really well protected. Instead, bishop e5, knight g5, queen c7, attacking obviously over here. And if this happened, this would basically again be, well, here I think white may be slightly better, but still, yeah, it should be within drawing margins. Instead he went bishop b1, trying to go for more, and now a3. Yeah, the kind of you remember, guys, 37 a3 here. Sometimes I include random engine suggestions because they're so funny. Yeah, a3 just getting out of the way of bishop b1, of course. Yeah, preparing queen b4 and whatever. Yeah, no one is going to play that. It's a draw anyway. Okay, a3 here, queen f8, and now he takes bishop g6, and bishop d7 is the final error of the game. Was it here that was the final error? Yeah. Instead he should have played bishop f4, just trying to take, and maybe just coming back here or something, or taking. And bishop f3 also. Yeah, you might be sacrificing a pawn, but not really a sacrifice. Yeah, so bishop f3 just going for the draw. Sorry. Yeah, so bishop g6, and now bishop d7 loses to knight e4. Matematico is threatened, so that's covered. But now queen will come through different directions. Queen e7. What is the point of queen e7? This is the point, and there's a nasty pin. So yeah, he kind of, Abdelaziz here, of course not bishop e6. Abdelaziz here, if you guys remember earlier, he went for this bishop c7. He kind of discoordinates his pieces. Discoordinates is not a word, but bear with me. So yeah, this is another such instance, like just blocking the coordination of the pieces. So he plays, by the way, here something like queen c7, just queen takes a3, and it's going to be curtains for black, for white. This is coming, and yeah. Instead he played queen a4, and now comes knight c3 with a mate threat. You have to come here to defend, but goodbye, Mr. Bishop. It would be cool if you could come here, but hello, Mr. Bishop. Yeah, so the game is basically lost. He loses a pawn, he loses a piece, and with it the game. Abdelaziz really played well to come back from that, but yeah, it was not to be. It was not to be. Najjar on the path to victory. Next up, next round, round 10, he faces Akram. So we'll have to see how that goes. Obviously, I know the result because the tournament has been done for like, when was the last round played? It was played like a week and a half ago, or was it only a week ago? I don't remember, but yeah. Okay. Why do I have analysis for this? Wait, what? Tariq against Najjar. Assis against Masarani? Didn't I show you guys this? Oh. Yeah, I had that analysis earlier. Oops, I forgot to delete this. So how many do I need? Let me just... I showed you guys this. It was round 8, right? Okay, let me make sure, guys, because I... Silman against Habash. When was that? Yeah, that was round 8. I showed you guys and I forgot to delete it, huh? Ooh, am I deleting? No, I'm deleting the friggin' analysis. What the frig am I doing? No, I'm deleting the comp analysis. Yeah, this is the comp analysis. I got scared. I don't want to delete this analysis, no. Yeah, the comp analysis we can't delete because we are not computers, alright? We are human beings. Sounds ridiculous, man. Yeah. But the thing is, I forgot to do the comp analysis here, so okay, let me do this. And let me, how do I add this? Add next chapter. I'm going to choose PGN. I'm going to choose the file. Yeah, it's going to be downloads. Yeah, I'm just going to put up the round 9. It's round 9, right? So upload the round 9 PGN, get this going. So let me press on the comp analysis now, because we do not have that for this round. I'm sorry, guys, I thought I did have it. Yeah, and meanwhile, while we wait for the comp analysis to be done, I got a treat for you. I tried to come up with a table. Yeah, I have the Masarani and the Akram game. Yeah, that's a game that's worthy of comp analysis, right? Right. Hopefully I didn't delete anything by accident, but yeah, let me bring back the board. Yeah, so what I need to do actually is to also change the scene. I need to show you guys the table, the ranking table. Yep. So yeah, today is November the 4th. And remember the 5th of November. Yeah. Yes, elections. You can't not talk about them, right? But I'm not going to. Okay. What do we have? Here it is. Can I show you guys this? Let me see, what scene is this? Where am I? Who am I really? Okay, here it is. So this is the round we have. Word file, yeah. And it puts some names as incorrect. Yeah. So this is the rankings we have. Wait, Mahmoud should be at 2.5. Yeah. So many errors today. 2.5. Yeah. Oh. I closed that out of habit. Anyway, yeah, so what's left is the comp analysis. And we have the Najjar game. So Abdelaziz defended well, but ultimately lost. Joe against Mr. Tariq. Oh, you guys can't see it properly. I keep making this mistake. Joe against Tariq is like... Sorry again. And yeah, here... not to be. Samir against Wissam. The Sicilian. And yeah, this is Sayiq against Salman. Wow, I didn't know the graph was so topsy-turvy. I kind of painted it as being really drawn and some swings, but maybe it's not as boring. Not boring, but I mean as staid as I thought. And yeah, Muhammad against Assis, crazy topsy-turvy game. And Muhammad had chances if you look at the graph. And yeah, this is the previous game. previous match because Masarani did not. I was expecting 6 games, but yeah, Masarani did not play against Akram, but he played later rounds. Okay, so that's it for this round, guys. Yeah, long overdue, but hey. Yeah, it was a pretty exciting round. I did not expect. I thought we had 1 game less. This will be a shorter video. It ended up being almost an hour and a half. Anyway, yeah. So with that, I hope you guys take care, and hopefully there will be peace no matter who wins. What we pray for is peace. Yeah, okay, why did I end with this message? Oh god. Yeah, I mean, like, okay, obviously, like, I'm a pacifist and want peace, but like the way the delivery was so Okay, anyway, we want peace. We want human beings to be peaceful. Why am I think I should stop talking to not make it sound stupid what I'm saying. Okay, guys. Alright, guys. Yeah, so take care and au revoir.